The day Daniel asked his mother for her last $10,000, she looked at him for a long time before saying yes. She didn't ask what the money was for. She didn't question his business plan. She simply opened an old wooden box, counted every dollar she had saved over 12 years, and placed the money in his hands. "Promise me one thing," she said quietly. Daniel nodded. "Don't let this money destroy you." He smiled and hugged her. "Mom, this money is going to change our lives." But Daniel had no idea that his mother had already sacrificed something far more valuable than money. "Promise me one thing," she said quietly. Daniel nodded. "Don't let this money destroy you." He smiled and hugged her. "Mom, this money is going to change our lives." But Daniel was 32 and desperate to save his small technology company. For 2 years he had told everyone that success was just around the corner. But behind the confident speeches were unpaid bills, angry investors, and employees wondering if their salaries would arrive on time. One evening, Daniel received an offer from a businessman who promised to invest in his company. There was only one problem. Daniel needed $10,000 immediately. His mother, Margaret, was the only person he knew who might have that much money. She lived alone in a small house and worked part-time at a neighborhood bakery. Daniel knew she had been saving for years. Still, he convinced himself that borrowing her money was the only way forward. He didn't know what Margaret had been saving it for. 3 months later, Daniel's company finally began making money. His office became bigger. His clothes became more expensive. He started attending business dinners and meeting people he once dreamed of impressing. But every time Margaret called, Daniel was busy. "Mom, I'll call you tomorrow." Tomorrow became next week. Next week became next month. One afternoon, Margaret asked him to visit her. Daniel sighed. "Mom, I'm really busy right now." "I know," she replied. There was a long silence. Then she said, "I just wanted to see my son." Daniel promised he would come on Sunday. He never did. A year passed. Daniel's company became successful enough that a local magazine featured him as a young entrepreneur to watch. His picture appeared on the front page. Margaret bought 5 copies. She kept one beside her bed. She gave the others to neighbors and proudly said, "That's my son." But she never told anyone that the money that helped him begin had been her entire life savings. One evening, Daniel finally visited her. The house looked exactly the same, but Margaret looked tired. "Mom, you should sell this old house," Daniel said. "You could move somewhere nicer." Margaret smiled. "I don't want a nicer house." "Why?" "Because this one holds everything I remember." Daniel didn't understand. Then he noticed an old hospital envelope on the table. He picked it up. His mother's name was written across it. "Mom, what's this?" Margaret quickly took the envelope from his hand. "Nothing." But Daniel noticed something strange. The date was from 12 years earlier. That was the year his father had died. That night, Daniel couldn't stop thinking about it. The next morning he returned to the house. Margaret wasn't home. While looking for an old business document, Daniel found the wooden box where his mother had kept her savings. Inside was a folded hospital receipt. Then, another, and another. Daniel's hands began to shake. He finally understood. His mother hadn't been saving the $10,000 for a vacation. She hadn't been saving it for a new house. She had been saving it for a medical procedure she had postponed for years. Daniel immediately called her. "Mom, where are you?" "At the bakery." "Why didn't you tell me?" "Tell you what?" "About your treatment." There was silence. Then Margaret quietly said, "You needed the money more." Daniel couldn't speak. "Mom, you should have told me. You were finally building the life you wanted, but you gave me everything." "No," she replied softly. "I gave you what I could." Daniel drove to the bakery. When he arrived, Margaret was sitting alone at a small table. He sat beside her. For the first time in years, he didn't talk about business. He didn't talk about money. He simply held her hand. Daniel spent the next few weeks trying to repair what money could never fix. He took Margaret to her appointments. He arranged for her treatment. He moved her into a comfortable apartment near his home. And when she asked how much everything cost, he smiled. "Mom, don't worry about money." She looked at him carefully. "That's exactly what you used to say." Daniel lowered his eyes. "I know." Then he placed the original $10,000 back into her hands. "I borrowed this from you," he said. Margaret shook her head. "You don't owe me." "I do. Not money." Daniel looked at her. "What do I owe you?" She smiled. "Your time." Years later, Daniel's company became highly successful, but he never forgot the lesson his mother had taught him. He created a small fund inside his company to help employees facing financial emergencies. He named it the Margaret Fund. Whenever someone asked why he had created it, Daniel gave the same answer. Because once someone gave me everything she had when I didn't deserve it. And every Sunday, no matter how busy he became, Daniel visited his mother. One afternoon, Margaret looked at him and smiled. "You finally learned." Daniel laughed. "What? That money can build a business." She squeezed his hand. "But love builds a life." And Daniel finally understood what his mother had been trying to tell him all those years. Asterisk, asterisk, the greatest debt in life is not the money someone gives you. It is the love you receive. And forget to return. Asterisk, asterisk. Done.